podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Monday after Liverpool 4, Fulham 3, in one of the weirdest, dumbest games you're ever likely to watch. The Reds went 1-up through a Trent free kick from fully 25 yards out, which apparently is going to be credited as an own goal because it came down off the bar, hit Bernd Leno's back and went in. I hate goals like that being credited as an own goal. I don't think it's fair to the goalkeeper, and I don't think it's fair to the player that's taken the shot. I don't like, in general, goalkeepers being credited with own goals unless they've actually kicked the ball into their own net or something stupid like that. Like if they're diving and the ball hits them, like let's say, for example, we've seen goalkeepers diving to save a ball that might be going wide or might be actually be going over the bar, and it drops in through it, spinning off their wrist or whatever it might be. Those aren't credited as own goals. Those never get credited as own goals. I don't think this should either. Like, Leno doesn't do anything purposeful to deflect the ball. He tries to save the ball. But I don't think like it's robbing Trent of a great goal, and it's unfair on Leno because it's, years from now people will look at that and go, Bernd Leno own goal in that game. Did he make a big mistake? No, he didn't. Leno didn't make any mistakes yesterday. He actually had a really good game. He just got beaten by 4 great strikes. They equalised through Harry Wilson. A lot of people blaming Joel Matip. Matip's not to blame here. Yes, it's a poor pass, but we're set in our defence when that pass is given away. Matip is playing sort of right back. Trent is at centre back next to Virgil. Costas is at left back. The midfield is set in front of them. Matip gets left 2v1. Maybe he could do a bit more to try and block the cross, but Trent needs to do a lot more with Harry Wilson. Like, the only person that ball is going to is Harry Wilson. And if Trent has any awareness of what's around him, he knows that if Wilson doesn't get that ball, it's going to one of our players. Trent needs to get touch tight to Harry Wilson as he sees him coming into the box. Instead, he doesn't really make any effort. Caoimhín Kelleher should do better as well, but more of the blame on that one is on Trent. Now, he would make up for it. Obviously, he had opened the scoring and he would score the winner, so he more than makes up for it. But let's appropriate blame correctly here. That goal is Trent's fault. We went 2-1 up. Alexis McAllister scoring an absolute screamer. A goal that would absolutely be a contender for goal of the season, except I kind of feel like Garnacho probably has that wrapped up for the overhead against Everton. I just don't think anybody's going to beat that goal. But the Alexis goal is spectacular. It's a kind of a loose header by Jimenez as they're trying to break out. Jimenez tries to head it down and spin and run in behind. Now, he's well inside his own half when he does this, but he's looking to be the outlet. And there's no Fulham player in the area. Alexis lets the ball run across his body, doesn't take any sort of touch to steady it or anything, hits it on the bobble because it was probably too small to be a bounce at that point, but he hits it as it rises and he strikes across it and it swerves and dips and it's vicious into the top corner. No goalkeeper in the world is saving that. Then there's more dreadful defending for Liverpool, and Alexis is probably the most most prominently poor defensive player in this instance. It's a corner, which Jimenez somehow gets a free header on. It hits Matip's arm. I'm not sure what Alexis is doing, does a weird jump thing. And it drops to Kenny Tete. And he kind of scruffs his shot. And Caoimhín Kelleher, I just think he should do a lot better there. I'm not sure why he's committed himself so early. Now, again, Tete is very close in, but I think if he just throws himself towards the ball, potentially he can kind of smother it. So that was 2-2. That was half time. The game had been really scruffy from our point of view. We had no control in midfield. The Dominic, Alexis, Gravenberch midfield, again, just not working. No balance to that midfield. And frankly, we shouldn't be seeing that midfield again. If Gravenberch or Dominic are playing, the other 8 needs to be either Curtis if Alexis is the 6, or ideally Alexis with Curtis as the 6, to be totally honest. And obviously Dominic or Gravenberch is a fairly easy conversation. It's Dominic by a considerable margin. Gravenberch had a poor game yesterday, very loose with his passing in the first half and quite lazy in the second half, to be honest. No tracking back. Just, he isn't a good defensive player. He really isn't a good defensive player. And he doesn't impact the game on the ball often enough either. Like, we saw at City what he's capable of, and that's the frustrating thing. We know what he's capable of. He just doesn't impact games enough. And yesterday was a prime example of that. You'd also have to question his cardio. Like, he is bollocksed after 60 minutes in games. Absolutely bollocksed. And yet, again, Jurgen left him on far too long yesterday. Dominic was taken off. Alexis was taken off. On came Cody Gakpo and Joe Gomez as the Galaxy brain nonsense moved to epic levels with a double pivot of Joe Gomez and Trent. And unsurprisingly, Fulham scored a third. This time it's poor defending all round. We don't seem to have any urgency in our defensive work at the moment. There's no commitment to a lot of it. Virgil is the only one, really. But they get a cross in, and Costas, who actually did have a good game, is just beaten at the back post by, was it D. Cordova-Reid? I think it was probably D. Cordova-Reid. Apologies if I'm wrong. I think it was. But he's beaten in the air by him, who you just had a run on him. It's as simple as that. But if Costas is just a bit stronger and maybe takes a step backwards, because he has to know D. Cordova-Reid is making that run. If he just takes a step backwards and walls off that ball, D. Cordova-Reid clatters into the back of him and we get a free out. But D. Cordova-Reid gets the run, gets the header, gets the goal. And then Jurgen is forced into another change. He brings on Wataru Endo into midfield. And at 3-2 down, I think a lot of people were quite annoyed that was the change. But it was a change that made sense because it put us back to playing an actual footballing shape with an actual midfielder in midfield, as opposed to a right back, a centre back, a forward player, and Gravenberch, who just wasn't in the game at that point because he was knackered by then. So Endo comes into midfield, and immediately we made more sense. We made an awful lot more sense. Ibu clips a lovely ball up to Darwin. Darwin cushions the header for Mo. Mo takes his touch, looks like he might shoot. Gakpo makes a really good run on the outside. Looks like Mo will slip him in. The defence shifts. Mo turns, feeds it back. And stepping onto it is probably the last player any of us thought we would have wanted. Well, no, Joe Gomez would be the last player you'd want stepping onto that, given he's never scored. But Endo would be fairly low down the list of Liverpool players you'd want stepping onto that ball. And we'd all have been wrong because he passed the ball into the top corner from 19 yards out. It's a sensational goal. And what I love about it was he didn't even really celebrate it. He just went straight back to business, ran back to the halfway line, got his teammates up, got the crowd going. And from there, the crowd was unbelievable. Like from the 87th minute until the final whistle, For a Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff, the crowd was unreal for that last 10 minutes or so. And within a minute, we're ahead. It's really good from Cody, who'd had a bit of a quiet game since coming on. He drives at their defence, gets a shot away. It's a good shot, lots of venom in it. Leno does really well, makes a good save and pushes it wide. But Darwin doesn't give it up. And Darwin hooks the ball back into the box. It should be an easy back post header for, I think, Kenny Tete. But Costas doesn't give it up. And Costas jumps to challenge. And he's never going to win the ball. But by making the challenge, he forces the defender into a weak defensive header. It comes out to Trent. Good touch on his thigh. Manages to settle himself. And it's a gorgeous half-volleyed strike into the bottom corner. Really, really well taken. Really good hit. No chance for the goalkeeper. The celebration is pure Gerrard, and the moment was pure Gerrard, to be honest. We saw, how many times do we see Stevie score those kind of late winners? Fantastic technique from Trent, who overall had an outstanding game yesterday. Defensively now, he left some things to be desired, but he wasn't alone in that. But it was such an enormous explosion of noise then from the Kop. The whole team joined in the slide celebration. And from there, the crowd got even louder. And that really did seem to spur our players on. And there was, they were cheering Darwin chasing people down and throwing in a slide tackle. The place erupted when Endo crunched in on Polinia just on the halfway line to stop them breaking. It was a great tackle, and he's up, and we've got the ball, and we're moving again. And those type of things, those are the type of things that when Liverpool fans get on board and get excited about, the players get excited about them. The players are more willing to do them. It pumps the players up. And you could see that in a couple of moments when some challenges went in, that our players were properly stoked up about it. There was also a lovely moment where Ibu made a tackle, was called for a foul, and in pure tribute to Joel Matip, had himself a little tantrum. And it was just fantastic. You can't beat a Joel Matip tantrum, but a Joel Matip tantrum by Ibu might just come close. So a 4-3 win. A win is a win. That's the only thing that matters, is that we won. Of course, there's a lot we need to improve on. Like, conceding 3 goals to Fulham is shocking, considering they'd scored 13 goals prior to yesterday. And that's the third time they've scored 3 goals this season. So that's 9 of their 16 goals have come in 3 games. So the other 11 games have led to 7 goals, which is more like who they are. But we scored 4 brilliant goals. And I thought we showed the same type of fight and determination that we showed a couple of times earlier this season. And it does really put to bed any nonsense about us missing supposed leaders and standard setters and mentality monsters who were basically just carried along for the ride by much better players for years. A lot of discourse about Darwin, obviously, after the game, because there just always is. And all of it obviously centres around the fact that he did miss a couple of chances yesterday. There was one where he hit the bar, obviously, and then the other one is probably the better chance. It's a good ball by Dominic, lovely cushioned header by Mo. Darwin should do better. He seems to get caught up in which foot to use, and in the end, he kind of misses his kick, and it comes to nothing. And obviously, he's missed a number of big chances this season. We know he has. We know that his finishing is hit and miss would be kind, but we know that he's inconsistent in front of goal. But here's what he's not inconsistent in: his impact on winning. Darwin Núñez impacts winning in a positive way. And even when he doesn't play well, he impacts winning. He didn't play well yesterday, but he impacted winning. His header to Mo in the Endo goal, it's a pre-assist. His hooked cross for Trent's winner, that's a pre-assist. That's 2 goals he has played a big part in. And as you look back through this season, he is about far more than scoring goals. He's impacting in positive ways without scoring goals, which we look at Erling Haaland. If he doesn't score, he doesn't impact the game. In fact, what he does, he has a negative impact on his team because it's like they're playing with 10 men a lot of the time. But with Darwin, he does impact the game positively over and over and over again. And yes, we'd all like him to score more goals. But he got 15 last season. He's on target this season to get around 20. And he'll get 10 assists this season as well. And it's the assist side of things. It's the contribution side of things that's more important to me, because our primary goal scorer is Mohamed Salah. We don't need Darwin to be our primary goal scorer because we have that in Mo. What we need Darwin to be is a player who impacts winning, who creates opportunities for himself and for others. And he does that. And he does that at an incredible rate. And yesterday, he would have had 3 pre-assists had Mo squared the ball for Diaz after that lovely little 1-2 between Mo and Darwin. And if Mo just rolls it across the front of goal, Diaz taps home from 5 yards out with an empty net. And that's not to criticise Mo, but I'm just making the point. Darwin could have had a big hand in 3 goals yesterday, as he did when we beat Villa. Defensively, in terms of defending from the front, he has improved immeasurably. Like this season compared to last season, he's a totally different player off the ball. His pressing is excellent. His closing down is excellent. He's starting to understand passing angles. He's not scared to put his foot in. He's not scared to challenge for balls. So that side of his game has improved. His link-up play has improved massively. His hold-up play has improved. The timing of passes, the choice of passes, they've all improved. So when people say, oh, he hasn't improved since he joined, it's just so wrong. It's hard to know where to start with that. Like, his all-round game has improved enormously since he joined us. Yes, the finishing is frustrating, but I don't really care because I don't feel like we need him to get us 35 goals a season when we've got Mo. What I would rather he do is get 20 goals, 10 assists, 15 goals, 15 assists, defend from the front, link play, set up chances for Mo and Diaz. Diaz is the one who needs to buck up his ideas in that front 3. And I'm a big fan of Diaz. And obviously he's been through a horrendous time of late with what happened with his parents. Thankfully that all came to a positive resolution. But like, his performances haven't been great since he came back from the injury. Last season, Darwin had 15 goals and 4 assists in 2,365 minutes. This season, he's got 7 goals and 6 assists in 1,081 minutes. So he's on target to get more goals and treble the assists that he did last season. And if Darwin is somewhere in that 15 to 20 goal, somewhere in that 10 to 15 assist range, I'm sorry, but that's incredibly valuable. Like, that's ridiculously good. So I don't really understand where a lot of the criticism comes from. Yeah, he misses chances. Fair enough. But he creates chances for others, which not many of the strikers do. Ollie Watkins isn't creating a bunch of chances for his teammates. There's a few that do, obviously. Ivan Toney, Harry Kane being the most obvious one, Gabriel Jesus. But those players have immense value, and those players are loaded. They don't score more goals than Darwin, but they're loaded because they get 8 to 10 assists. And he's got 6 already this season. He's easily going to get to 10 if he keeps playing the way he's playing. He's got the best understanding with Mo of any forward that we've had in Jurgen's tenure. His connection with Mo is better than Bobby's directly with Mo. Bobby's connection with Mane was always a little bit better than the connection with Mo on pitch. And Mo and Mane's connection was good, but not as good as this. If you're going to upgrade one of the front three, it's left wing. And I've said it before, I would love us to go and get Pedro Neto. I know he has injury problems. I know that. But he wouldn't need to be sprinting 60 yards carrying the ball with us like he is with them, which is what causes his hamstrings to go. And we've seen players in the past who've had hamstring injuries, and as they got older, those hamstring injuries went away. And it was just because they slightly altered the game and they were explosive in shorter bursts. Ryan Giggs, Steven Gerrard. You know, the knee injury that Neto had, I don't think you need to worry about it. Because before he got hurt this season, he was one of the best players in the league. Neto on the left to give us real width on the left, which would then allow us to play more of a centre-back type of left-back. A Giancarlo Inacio, an Arthur Thiete, a Piero Hincapié, that type of player, as opposed to asking someone like Robbo to be left side centre-back, left-back and left-winger all in one. If you had an out-and-out left-winger who could beat that full-back and whip crosses in, like, number one, that would also get more out of Darwin. Number two, it would make us stronger defensively because you'd get that more defensive presence in the team. And number three, I think we'd just be better balanced. Because now we'd have, like, imagine those cross-field balls from Trent to Neto in behind a right-back. And Neto is unstoppable when he's on form. And he was on form a lot this season. So if we're going to do one thing in the forward line, that's what I would like to see us do, is bring in him. We know we've been linked with Leroy Sané. He's just, at this point, he's 28. I don't think there's real value for us in that deal. As brilliant as he is, he's not as good as he was at City. Now, part of that is he's playing right wing rather than left, and he's better as a left winger. And I think Neto's better as a left winger as well. I think a lot of these wingers want to play on their opposite side so they can come inside and shoot. But go back and watch our game against Wolves and just watch what Neto does to Joe Gomez. And Joe's a really good defensive player. Like, really good. And Neto terrorizes him. So if we're going to keep playing this shape, then a defensive midfielder, a left-footed left-back / left-side centre-back, and Pedro Neto, they would make this team pretty much unbeatable, in my view. And a big part of why we'd be unbeatable is because of how good our number 9 is. And the other thing to consider with him, right, Darwin is 24. Okay, he'll be 25 in the summer. He's played 201 senior club games. And I was thinking to myself, that's quite low. Like, that seems quite low for a player who'll be 25 at the end of the season. Realistically, come the end of the season, he's probably at 230. So I thought, I wonder when Robbie Fowler got to 230 games for Liverpool. And you look, and when Robbie left Liverpool to move to Leeds United, he was 26. In his last season, like last full season, which was the year we won the treble. He played 48 games. And then he played 17 the next season. There's 65. So Robbie turned 25 in April of 2000. So to the end of the 99-2000 season, Robbie had played 45 games more. And remember, Robbie had had some injury-plagued seasons as well. Then I thought, well, when did Michael Owen get to sort of the same sort of 230 game marker? And obviously, again, Michael had injuries. But when Michael left Liverpool, he was 25. Now, he's 25 and a half, so he's about 6 months older than Darwin, but he played 297 games. So again, you're talking about like nearly 70 games more. Same as Robbie, which is 2 seasons in a lot of respect, 2 league seasons. Darwin actually hasn't played an enormous amount of football. You're only really looking at 4 full seasons prior to this season. This is really Darwin's 5th season. Because when he was at Penarol, he only really had the one kind of chunk of a season where he played 13 games. The next season he started well. He played 8 games, but then he got sold to Almeria. And then obviously goes to Benfica, has 2 years there. So he's only really got his time in Europe, this is season number 5. That's all you're really looking at with Darwin. Is he hasn't played 201 games either. That number's not right. 85 plus 22 is 107, and 62 for us now. Those numbers aren't correct. He's played 167 games, not 201. Michael Owen got to 167 games basically 5 seasons into his career. But Michael, because he started so young, was only 22. Robbie would have been similar. Maybe a year later, he might have been 23. Darwin's 25 in 6 months. And he doesn't have their natural finishing ability. And that's not the point I'm trying to make here. I'm just pointing out that he's still very young in footballing terms. In every term, he's very young. But in footballing terms, he's not experienced. Like, he doesn't have vast amount of experience to call on. Marcus Rashford is 26 and has played 377 games for Manchester United. He's played 210 games more than Darwin. I need to dig into those numbers. There's something funky about that. I'd love to know where the 201 number comes from. I'd be very, very curious as to where these numbers come from, because somebody has made a significant mistake with them somewhere. Maybe I'll do that and I can report back tomorrow. Have a look at This Is Anfield. There will be plenty of content post-match. Same on Liverpool.com. And AnfieldIndex.com, there is a piece about Jurgen saying that he'd never seen so many world-class goals in one game. Alexis talking about his goal. Joel Matip picked up what looks like quite a serious injury, potentially some sort of structural knee problem. So do have a read about that. Me talking about the lack of balance in midfield, which I maintain just doesn't work with Gravenberch and Dominic. Podcast-wise, then, there's a new minefield, which is, as always, a triumph. There is the Anfield Index podcast. Is Trev and Lisa Marie this week talking about magic moments and pantomime villains. And then there is Post-Match Raw, which is myself, Trev, and Harry Sethi. So do check all of those things out, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
The first 2 letters of Webster Bank, we. As in us and you, working together. That's the we we're all about. The we that means you can think bigger and do more with our financial solutions tailored to your goals and expert guidance at every step. So take your next step with total confidence because you've got the power of we on your side. And together, we can do anything. Webster Bank. It starts with we. WebsterBank.com. Webster Bank N.A. member FDIC. Equal housing lender.